maybe, Coach, I will start by asking you to introduce yourself and maybe share with us how you started running and coaching.
Oh, I actually started running in schools, and after that I stopped and I had to do studies and all that kind of thing. So I started in 1970s, where I became I was a team manager with the national team, and then eventually I started coaching. Actually, I started coaching because one of the girls whom I met, she already collapsed. She runs a half marathon, and she collapsed maybe 300 or 400 meters before where the finishing is. And she came to me and she asked me, she said, why is that I'm, was it collapsing just before 300 meters before the finish? So I said, you have not done enough to do complete this thing. Then she said her marathon time was 3 hours and 33 minutes. And she said she wanted to cut down the time. Then I said, you have to work hard. And I told her, I said, what time are you looking at? She said 3 hours and 10 minutes. Oh no, 3 hours, 20 minutes. So I told her 3 hours, 20 minutes may not be enough, but I think you have to work harder. Hello? I don't see anything there. Hello?
Yes, Coach, we can hear you.
Oh, you can hear me. Oh, thank you. Yeah. Okay, so this girl, we sat down, we talked. I gave her 10 months of coaching, and she brought it down to 3 hours and 10 minutes in 10 months of coaching. She trained almost 6 days a week, and from there on, I brought her for the World Half Marathon. Hello? Can you hear?
Yeah, can, okay.
Yeah. So then after that, I brought her down to 2 hours and 58 minutes. And then, of course, I brought her for SEA Games, brought her for 2 SEA Games. So I brought her for the World Half Marathons. And from there, I started on. And then I met another girl who was 65 kg. She was from college ITE. And she wanted me to coach her to run. And she was actually quite chubby for 65 kg. And I told her, if you persevere, I will help you coach and do what you can. Eventually, after about a year plus, she ran the Orchard Mile and she won. And she beat all the foreigners by 100th of a second. She did 5 minutes and 38 seconds for the Orchard Mile, where the other girl who just lost to her by 1 second, 5 minutes and 39 seconds. So thereon, I continued coaching. Then I met this boy who was from Pasir Ris Secondary School, the school doesn't have track and field as their niche sport. So I coached him, and eventually he became the national champion for 1500 for 3 years in a row. And he won the national cross country. And from there on, I'm still continue coaching, and I also run myself. So while you coach, it's quite hard to run at the same time. So I have to find time. And I conducted coaching clinics for Straits Times, for Nike, and who else? Yeah. And for the nationals, whenever there's talks, I give them some talks and all that kind of thing. So that's about me, short and sharp. I work for Singapore Airlines. I actually retired, recontracted. I was seconded to Foreign Affairs for 3 years. I was stationed in Bombay as a diplomat. And I still continue coaching in people in Bombay, the students and all that kind of thing. So it's just a passion, something that I enjoy doing. Of course, I have the other hobby, that's photography. I'm actually a gold medal in international photography. I can proudly say I'm the only Indian in Singapore has that FIAP gold medal. So I still actively take photo for Safra Photo Club and Photography Society of Singapore. I do give talks on photography too. So that's it. So what else you all want to know?
Okay, Coach. Thanks so much for that sharing. But before we continue, all of you that are on, can I just ask that you mute your microphones, and only if you have a question to ask, then turn it on. But otherwise, please assist to just have your microphones muted, because I think we're hearing we're hearing background noise and sound as well. So if we can all do that, be grateful. So, Coach, I think thanks for the introduction. What I think we are going to try and do is invite our runners to pose questions to you. I think a lot of them were very keen to have you, put on the spot so that they can ask you questions. A lot of them have a lot of burning questions. In fact, we already have one question that was put out on the chat, and that relates to hydration during your runs. There was a question as to how to manage hydration. I mean, a lot of people, they just run, they're not sure when to drink or hydrate. Usually people just drink when they are thirsty. Is there a proper plan that you should hydration plan that you should adopt when you're running long distances?
Yes. Okay. Depending on what you're running. Okay. If you're running a marathon, if you notice, the drink station starts from 5 kilometers, and it's not necessarily you have to take a drink, but take a sip. So by the time you actually depleted in hydration, that means you got no longer hydrated. Then it's too late to take anything. So as you go along the way, because usually in marathon, every alternate they're supposed to have isotonic drinks and water. But if you don't have isotonic drink, then take water. But just take a sip and then just pour it out and just take a sip. Just clear the throat a bit and continue running. And so every kilometers, if you can, every 5 kilometers, you try to take a drink. So that will help. But if you're running shorter distances, probably you can just stop by, just take a sip and run a kind of thing. Because if too much water in your body, it also becomes a bit different in your running. It may just disrupt your rhythm. So I would suggest as you're running along, just take a sip. Don't have to really drink, gobble a lot of water. So as you go along, I think that will help you keep you hydrated all the way. So by the time the body tells you to drink, that will probably be too late. If you're running a marathon, you probably will start hitting the wall, and I think it's just too late. So I hope I answered the question. So
Naz, do you want to add? Yeah.
No, sorry guys, I'm outside, so with a mask, sorry. Coach, thank you. That's very, very helpful. Really appreciate it.
No problem. Anytime. Yeah.
So, Coach, a lot of the runners here, I mean, we're beginners. I mean, you coach athletes. You're an experienced runner. A lot of us are actually just starting out.
Okay.
So, I just wanted to perhaps hear from you. If you're just starting out, I mean, you haven't, maybe your longest distance may be, 2-3 kilometers. You want to start doing. I mean, you want to run a lot more regularly and maybe even do a 5 or 10K. And how do you get into that rhythm? How do you ease into running? Because, you can't just start and run a 5.
Obviously, yeah. Because running is something like Maggi noodle instant. Fast to cook, fast to eat, a kind of thing. So it takes time. First of all, one enjoys running, then you have to plan yourself how you want to go about doing it. First of all, if you are not a runner before and you're beginning to start, of course, they always encourage you to do brisk walking. Maybe if you go by lamppost, you probably walk one lamppost fast and the other lamppost slower and fast, slower and all that kind of thing. So you probably can start off with 20 minutes or so for the beginning and try and do on alternate days, because if you do it every day is too much for a beginner. So you can do it on, say, every alternate days, maybe Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then you rest the weekend and then you start again and all that kind of thing. Then eventually when your cardio improves, that means your breathing and all that kind, you'll feel more comfortable. When you keep doing it regularly, probably 3 weeks or a month or so, then you start probably jogging one lamppost and the other lamppost you walk. And then you see how you feel. And when you feel more comfortable, then you start doing 2 lampposts with 1 lamppost of walking. So when your cardio starts to improve, then you are getting much better. And then you start off with 2K for a beginner, then probably 3K, and eventually you go on. But there again, saying that, they always say, listen to your body. But no one listens to the body because sometimes the ears are shut. Sometimes you feel good. Sometimes we got the ego in us. We tend to push more than what is required of us. one has to take more time to kind of say, hey, today I probably take it a bit more easy, because our body system is such, so we are all different, and sometimes the body feels good, sometimes the body doesn't feel the way you feel, and sometimes when you feel not so good but you do better, sometimes you feel good but you're not doing better. So it's just also emotionally and psychologically you have to have that positiveness in you, and continue doing it. Maybe you can take the same route for a while and then probably then change different areas, so that you feel, you see things differently, and you feel good in continue doing it. And then you start jogging. Of course, the other things I also like to emphasize is a pair of shoes that you wear and the way you walk or the way you run, because some of them have pronation, overpronation, and some shoes doesn't fit all. So one has to take it in good stride. What shoe is comfortable for you? It also depends on the way you run. Some are forefoot runners, some are heel strikers, some are flat foot runners. So all this comes into a real complex where one has to really look into it and see how you want to move forward. So you can look for, doesn't mean I wear a good Nike, I am supported by Nike. So I can wear Nike, but ASICS came to me and said, can you wear ASIC? I tried, but after that, I just cannot run. So it's different. So getting a good pair of shoes is also important, and invest in it and go on it, and slowly you start doing it. And of course, I think the last time you spoke about heart rate. If you notice, the heart rate is only a gauge. So you probably normal heart rate, someone is 72 beats per minute. So you can raise it up as high, they say, minus your age and all the kind of thing, you can get what it is. But then again, you also must know how much you can do. So the moment you become breathless, you try and slow down and then see, probably then you keep doing it, you will improve. So anything else? I think that's the body. I can go on talking about
Sure.
this
So,
beginner.
So, Coach, we have some questions that some of the runners have posed. One question that has come up based on some of the things that you've just shared is, you said that, there are different types of runners, right? Heel strikers, front foot runners, some are flat-footed, and so on. One of our runners, Silva, has asked, hey, how do you know what sort of a runner you are? What your foot type is? How does one tell?
Okay, there are a few. I mean, of course, you heard of Running Lab and a few others. They can do a gait analysis, the way you run. You run on a treadmill. Actually, Nike used to do, but they have stopped now. So usually they do a gait analysis to see how you run. Of course, the other way is you can see the way your shoes wearing out. If you look at my shoes, my forefoot side is all worn out. So I am a forefoot runner, I know myself. The other way is to do a gait analysis to see. But the moment the good is to see your shoes, where is it worn out? The side, the front, the back, or something. And probably from there on, you can work on. So, but at this point, the one you must seek some, I think go to Running Lab. I think Running Lab does this gait analysis. I don't know how much they charge. You probably will know, and then they will probably recommend you the shoes. But the shoes, as I said, it all depends on you, what type of shoes really fits you well.
I think that's a good point, Coach, because I realized that a lot of the beginner runners, including myself as well, when we first start, we just go out and buy a shoe and we wear it and we start running, and we don't realize that we need to get a shoe that works for us, which is corresponds to our particular foot type and so on. It was only after a while that I realized that I was using the wrong shoes. I needed a little bit more cushioning in my shoes because with shoes with less cushioning, I was starting to get knee pain in my patella, and so I switched things about. I started using the Adidas Ultra Boost, which is a thick cushioning. And then running was a lot more comfortable as well. So I think it's important that we realize that it's not as simple as just going to a shop and buying a pair of running shoes.
Yes.
You may end up actually hurting yourself if you're not wearing the right shoes.
Yeah, that's one of the important things I always emphasize to runners. See the shoes that fit you well, as what you said, cushioning. Because sometimes when we run, if we actually pound 3 times our body weight, and the knee takes the impact of it. And on the long term, of course, you want to run as long as you can over the years. So based on that, investing in a good pair of shoe with cushioning and the way, the style of your running also is important. So injury is something that one will not want to go into. And to prevent injuries, of course, you need rest and all that kind of thing. So shoes are very important. So I always emphasize a good pair of shoes is something one has to really look into.
Okay, Coach, thanks. We have another question from another one of our runners, Anita. Her question relates to running to lose weight. So she wanted to ask you, if your intention is to lose weight, how should you plan your weekly runs? Should you be running daily, or should you still run alternate days if the plan is to lose weight?
Okay, it depends on how much you want to lose, and I don't know. Okay, I tell you that the girl that I coach, she was 65 kg. Of course, after 2 years, she went down to 46, 47. But that's a lot of hard work because she's a more intense runner. So she's not. She wanted to take up running because she was so chubby that she wanted to really run. So, but for losing weight is a bit different because running alone doesn't help you to lose weight. It helps you a bit, but at the same time, it's your diet, the way your eating habits are, and all the kind of thing, your sugar and all the kind of thing. So it's also a dietary factor that one has to look into. But running, of course, you can run every day. You will tend to lose. Of course, with the COVID and working from home, I've lost 7 kg. So that's quite a fair bit, but it takes time. So running every day, of course, you perspire, and once you started perspiring, you lose some body fluids and all that kind of thing. But what's your intake after that? Do you take in more than what you have lost? That's another tricky part that one has to control. And taking other like Coca-Cola or the sugar content drinks and all that kind of thing may not actually make you lose that much, but you will lose, but slowly. But running every day is, of course, is a good thing to do, but you literally want to lose weight, you also must control your diet. And that will help you with your running as well as your body loss weight.
Coach, there's another question. This one relates to people who have families with young children. If you want to start your children on running, this one I always get criticized by my wife because I'm quite enthusiastic when it comes to running, and I literally drag my kids out and I bring them out for runs, sometimes as long as 3 kilometers, and my kids are only about 11 and 9. So my wife always asks me, she always says, do you know what you're doing? You're making them run 3 kilometers. Are they going to end up hurting themselves? So I think one of our runners, Malati, has this question. If you have young kids and you want to start them on running, what's a good distance? How should you ease them into running?
Actually, for kids, I always don't encourage them to run too long because it's their childhood time and they must enjoy what they're doing. And you can't start them too young because they are growing and because until they reach their teens, because it will stunt their growth. Because I have parents coming to me and said, my daughter is only 8 years old, 9 years old, can you coach? I said, she's too young. Probably running 1 or 2 kilometers is more ideal for you, depending on how old the kid is. Because if we want to start them young, I will let them enjoy and do play, you throw the ball, pick them, come back and all that kind of thing. So, but to just start them on a longer distance, I will not encourage. Of course, some parents, because the moment they reach their teens, they probably will not enjoy the sports anymore because that will affect their growth and all that kind of thing. And especially girls and all that kind of thing, through sports science, I think their growth is important. So that will stunt their growth effect of it. If you want, I'll probably make them run 1K, 1.5K, and let them enjoy. There's no emphasis on real like strict running and all kind of thing. If they are above 12, 13 years old, 16 years old, and then probably you can add in a bit more. But if they're younger than that, let them enjoy their childhood and make them run. Not too long, but I think for your kid Ramesh, 3 kilometers is more than ideal. Don't let them go more than that because they will feel good going more than that. But there is another burnout session because children who start young, I noticed some of the child who I got a parents who made his son at about 5 years old, he made him run almost 8 to 10 kilometers, and eventually today the boy is not running at all, and the father is very sad. So these are one of the experiences I can share with you, but start them young to enjoy it, and as they grow, they will enjoy it much more. Yeah,
I think is a fair point, Coach, because even with my kids, I must say that now it's becoming a bit of they feel like it's a chore. When I ask them to come out for a run, they're not enthusiastic about it. They come because Appa solradhanaala they come. But you tell that they're not enjoying it. And so, which is why my wife was suggesting that maybe I should do shorter distances and
you should make them shorter distances, make them run. Maybe you throw a ball far away, make them run, bring it back to you and say, hey, you're not bad, you're doing this. There's another kind of aerobic thing that will help them improve their cardio. So you can make them do that, but make them run as a chore, as what you say, they will not enjoy it as they go along. Yeah.
Okay, Coach, we have another question. We have another question, Coach. This one is from a runner who says that he actually has a knee injury. I mean, when he runs, he feels pain. But obviously, there's a keen interest to continue running. So the question is, if you are one of those runners who, you get knee pain every time you go out for a run, what should you do, and how do you keep running? How do you keep running and deal with the pain that you're experiencing in your knees?
Because, I mean, first of all, if someone has a knee injury, of course, it's good to go and consult a doctor and see what's wrong with the knee, because you may have meniscus or cartilage or some other thing, or maybe the shoes that you're wearing is not really appropriate because probably your body shifting or weights in one leg and the other also can be the cause of it. Of course, if you have a knee pain, I will encourage you to run on grass or beach sands or something like that, so that will help. The other option is just to keep your cardio going is swimming. That will help. Or you can do aqua jogging. Aqua jogging means you run in the pool, actually, with a float on. They call the kind of aqua. I'm sure you've seen it. So that will help. You see, you got to do some strengthening. So the knee is somehow is getting some effect that is causing you the pain. So it's good to really go and look at it first before continue doing, rather than to damage it further where you can't run anymore. So if you want to enjoy running, either you take a rest first and let it get better and continue, or you do alternative sports, like I say aqua jogging, or go on a grass patch and run. That probably will help. Or maybe you go and have a look at the doctor and see maybe your running style is not really the way you should be running that is causing the pain.
So, Coach, I think a lot of the runners on will probably also be interested to know your age and how old you are now. You've been running regularly for a long time. You'd be happy to share your age with us, Coach?
Sure. I'm sure anybody can guess my age. I'm actually 66 years and 6 months.
Wow. Okay. And you've been running now for many years, and doesn't look like you're going to be stopping anytime soon as well.
No, I will run as much as I can. As I said, I always recommend. Okay, the other thing is those of them who are running is good to alternate your shoes. It's just like car tires. If you can alternate you do tire rotation and all that kind of thing. So it's good to, if you can afford it, have 2 pairs or 3 pairs, and you change it each time, and your legs will get the feel of it. So I enjoy running because I always tell people, yesterday when I was running with someone, I told them, running is something that you must enjoy, and when you enjoy it, you are not answerable to anybody and only to yourself. At the end of the day, when you come back home, the satisfaction that you get, money cannot buy. You can only tell yourself, oh, I did it, what I want to do, and the rest of the day is all full of enjoyment. So I always encourage people to enjoy what they're doing, and I'm enjoying it. So every morning I go out there, I run over 10K, 12K, 13K. Like last Saturday, I ran from here to Macritchie and back. People say you're crazy. I say I'm not crazy. I'm just enjoying it. It doesn't matter the time, how long I take, but it's just as long as I do it, I'm satisfied with it.
Coach, I think you mentioned you waking up early in the morning and going out for a run.
Yes.
One of our runners has a question on this as well. On Strava, you see people running, sometimes in the morning, some run in the afternoons when it's really hot, some run in the evening, some run late at night. From your experience, and what would you say is the best time to run? Early morning, evening? Is there a difference if you run at different times of the day?
Of course, morning is a bit more harder because you after you rested for the night and then you get up and run. It's a bit hard to start the engine and all kind of thing. But it's a good routine to do in the morning because the rest of the days you are okay. Of course, some of them, because of work commitment, family commitment, they cannot run in the morning. They run in the evening. When it's actually, as long as you do it, but the timing is a bit different on your body adjustment. So how your body feels and all that kind of thing. So if you run in the morning, you probably feel a little bit more harder to start the engine, cracking the engine to get it going. Probably in the evenings, you're already warmed up and all that kind of thing. You just put on your shoes, you are okay. And the rest of the days, you've been working and all that kind of thing. So it all depends on it. Okay, running in the afternoon, of course, with the heat and all that kind of thing, you lose a lot of body fluid. And it's a little bit more warmer. And because of a humidity weather, you need to hydrate yourself doing it in the afternoon. So it all depends on each individual, what suits you and what you want to do, and at the end of the day, you feel that you have done your runs. That's important. So it is all preference, which one you prefer to do in the morning. No two person are the same. So you may prefer in the morning, I may prefer in the evening, because I find morning routine is much more easier. So I get up early where less traffic, of course, less carbon dioxide on the roads and all that kind of thing. So I rather do it in the morning.
So, Coach, physiologically though, is there a difference? I mean, if you're running in the morning before breakfast, it's a empty stomach. You're running. In terms of fat burning and all, does it make a difference when compared to, say, you running at the end of the day where you've had breakfast, a heavy lunch, and all that? In terms of fat burning, does it make a difference?
I don't think so. I think it's scientifically not proven, but I think whether you do it in the morning or you do it in the evening, but you're doing the routine, the burning is almost the same because the body processes are such. It depending on how intense is your run. Your intensity of running is also important because sometimes if you're running a mile in a certain specific time, or you're jogging a mile in a specific time, your burnout is different. The number of calories you burn is also different. So it depending on how intense your run is, and the level you're running, how far you're running, also plays a part in it, in the burning of the body fat.
Now, Coach, another runner has a question. I mean, I think this runner has been training to improve her 2.4 km timing.
Yes.
So right now, I think she says she's been running at, which is actually a very good time, 15 minutes, 2.4. She's running. She wants to cut that down to about 13 minutes or so. She wanted to get some tips on what sort of training she should be undertaking to cut or shave off that 2 minutes or so.
Okay, it depends on what she do. If she's doing routinely, she running the distance. Sometimes you have to do over distance. Sometimes you do under distance. as you know, interval training helps because you need to run, say if you're running 2.4 kilometers, you probably can do if you go to a track, you can probably do a 400, 600 or 1,002 to supplement your 2.4, but that's on interval. So that will kind of help you. Or you can also do hill runs because your leg needs the strength to carry your body weight. So you can do gradual slopes or not that steep, but just gradual slope, running up 10 times or 5 times, or depending on your level of fitness. So if you're doing 15 minutes, you probably can run maybe 8 to 10 times up the slope, or probably you can do interval training on the track. So probably if this week you have done hills, then don't do hills the following week. And then you can also do another method which I've recommended, that you can do a different kind. You do 5, 10, 15. So your 2.4 is 15 minutes. So you run for 5 minutes, you jog for 1 minute. You get what I mean? Do you know? Okay, this is something. It's a bit. I try differently to my runners. I even tried to a foreigner. He told me, "Will I get the distance?" Yes, you will get the distance. You say you for a start, you run for 15 minutes, and then you jog for 1 minute. Then you run for 10 minutes, and you jog for 1 minute. But because you're running 2.4, 15 probably is a bit too much. You probably halve it. Probably you run for 7 minutes, and then you go down for 3 minutes, half of it and half of it. So you must know the difference between jogging and running. So of course, you know, running is faster than jogging. Walking is faster than walking is slower than jogging. So you know how to do it, you will improve. So once you do a 2.4, 2.4 is literally from the start to the beginning is all running. So if you want to cut down your time, do interval runs. That will help you. You probably doing 600 will help you. Doing maybe 605 times is almost 3K. You're doing a bit over distance. But if you're running a 2.4, don't run 3 kilometers to think that your 2.4 will improve. I must give you a classic case. Someone who wanted to run a 10K in in 1 hour. And the person ran 13 kilometers and thinking that he will run a 10K in 1 hour. So I say, how can you equate that? Because when you're running a 13K, you're actually going slower. You should probably run 8K or a 6K or 7K regularly. So another 2K, your body will carry you through. But if you're running a bit more longer, you have to go slower. So you are actually losing speed. Speed endurance is important for a 2.4. So I think the person has to work on a bit on speed. So that will kind of improve the 2.4. It will come down. If you do about hills and interval training, I bet you it will sure improve.
Now, coach, on interval training, how is, say I'm going to, I wake up this morning and I tell myself, okay, I'm going to do interval training. How should I plan what distance and how many repetitions I do? And when I'm doing interval training, is it a case that I should be pushing all out as well?
Okay, it all depends on what you're training for. Okay, if you are running for 800, if you're running for 1500, the workouts are different. So if you're running for 5 kilometers or 3 kilometers, it's different. If you're running for half marathon or marathon, the interval trainings are totally different. So it depends on what events are you running at. So based on the events, and probably specifically I can tell you, say if I got a 1500 meter, maybe I take a 1500 meter runner because I coach some 1500 meter runner. So they probably do 200 meters 15 times. Okay, the 15 times equate differently because 15 times if they probably will do between 35 seconds to 40 seconds, but they will jog the 100. Okay, if they are doing a bit more intense, they will do probably 10 times, but they have to do below 30 seconds, 30 to 32 seconds. So is the variation there. And depending on your level of fitness, you need endurance, of course, if you've done enough mileage to help you equate what the workouts you're doing. Sometimes they will do 1,002 3 times at a specific time. Maybe they do a 1K in 3 minutes and 30 seconds, or between 2:45 to 3 minutes. It depending on the level of fitness that you are. I'm talking about someone who's doing 4 minutes, 10 seconds for his 1500. This is the kind of workout I give. If the guy is doing about 4 minutes and 30 seconds to or 4:45, the workout is a bit more different. So it depends on how fast you can go, but eventually your speed will improve. You keep on doing it regularly. Maybe if I give you someone who does 400 meters 5 times at probably 70 seconds for the beginning, and rest for 2 minutes and go again. But eventually the person can improve, maybe doing 65 to 60 to 65. And probably if you do a little bit more intense, probably 3 times below 60 seconds, then the speed will start kicking in. And depending on your strides, meter per second also counts. That's a bit more technical. So it's how fast you're going. So that's how you can do your workout.
Okay, Coach, thanks for that. We've got some questions which relate to this heart rate method of running. I think you mentioned that briefly earlier. And, we had an earlier Zoom session where the focus was on heart rate method. And I think you were on briefly for that as well. I think there are some runners that have some questions on it. And one runner in particular wanted to know about... basically, I think he was sharing. He seems to be running. He feels like his runs are quite comfortable, meaning doesn't feel like he's pushing himself too much. But his heart rate appears to be extremely high. Appears to be in a very high zone. And he's just wondering, is that unusual? Does it vary from person to person? Is there a particular zone that you should avoid training at? Just your thoughts on that.
Okay, heart rate is all depend on each individual. But if you look at the Kenyans and Ethiopians, they don't base on their runs on heart rate monitors. They don't believe in heart rate monitors at all. They always believe in what they are able to do and how they're able to do. So if someone, if you're using a heart rate monitor to run, then it's it's really just a gauge for you. But you should know yourself. If you're running continuously, you can probably check your heart rate. Bit per in the morning, if you just check, you probably, if you're running regularly, if you have enough endurance, you're probably at 40 something or below 50 or something like that. Of course, the normal heart rate for someone is 72. So by the time you're 50, by the time you reach 72, you are just a normal person. While others who are 72 probably have gone up to 100, they are probably different. So it all depends on each individual, how your breathing and how your comfort zone is. So by basing on a watch and this thing is just an equipment that allows to gauge you. But you should know yourself, are you okay running with it? And if always the heart rate is that level, then probably you can do a variation of training and say, okay, today I'm running a 5 kilometers in 30 minutes. How do you feel? And probably you run another time, 5 kilometers in 25 minutes, and you see probably the person, I don't know what's the level like. So you can probably see, hey, my heart rate is a bit different. So probably it's a different body system. As I said, we are all made differently. So probably when you're reaching your peak, someone beside you probably still can able to talk to you and all that kind of thing when you are already breathless. So it all depends on each individual, how the heart start breaking. Probably if your endurance level is not there and you expect to do something faster than what is expected to you, then that may not work the way. You have to work on your endurance first before you go into deeper training.
Now, I think the related question is, say you're running and then, you're looking at your watch and your heart rate is now 180, 190 and so on. You still feel okay, not like you're really pushing yourself, but are those signs that you should be wary of? Is that a case that your body is telling you that maybe you're pushing yourself too hard, or should you be actively trying to slow down, or, so I think that's a question some people get, because sometimes they're running and they look at their watch, it's like 190 beats per minute and so on. Is that something to be concerned about, or is it a case that it really varies from person to person?
I think it varies from person to person. Okay, when I run, I also use a Garmin, so I don't look at the watch. When I come back, I see the zone is different. So I was telling, myself, I say I wasn't at that level where the heart rate is in the red zone. So I tell myself I was doing comfortable when I run at 13 kilometers in say 1 hour and 20 minutes or so, and I'm comfortable with it. And why is it showing red? But sometimes it doesn't show red, even around the same time. So the concern part is the individual should know whether you are really heating up the day, because the watch is just a gauge. Probably the calibration may not be as accurate as what one thing, because sometimes it's good to check the watch at the same time, because you know yourself whether you are really reaching the pace where you're already 80-90%, where your heart rate is really has gone up and that kind of thing, because it all varies to each individual differently. Some without warm-up can still run, some with warm-up only can run. So it all depends on each individual. I would rather check the watch whether the calibration can give you the right signal. But if you're dependent on the watch, then probably you're going to go and check it out. But then each individual, sometimes when as you know, you are a runner yourself, you know how you feel. You're not controlled by the watch, you're controlled by yourself and your own emotions and how you feel like running better.
Now, Coach, just on this topic of heart rate running as well, I think some of our runners have been doing it regularly, and some are actually starting to see improvements. I mean, they've been running slowly at that zone for longer distances, and that's been helping to develop their aerobic base. But, you know, some purists will say that if you are training on the heart rate method, you must be religious about it. You go at it for a good number of months before you start seeing the benefits. So some people have asked, you know, how long should you be doing it for? I mean, does it vary from person to person again? Does age make a difference? If you are older and you are starting on this heart rate method, does it mean that you got to run slowly at that zone for longer duration before you start seeing the effect of it?
Okay, if you're older, of course, there's many other things. One, we don't know how fit the person is. Sometimes people may relate to you, they are very fit, but how fit is what you said. The heart rate is actually just a gauge. It just monitors and help you, kind of motivates you indirectly to say that, oh, my heart rate is this, so I'm in the comfort zone that I'm doing. I generally try and advocate differently, because for me, I run as comfortable as possible. I don't really depend on the heart rate. So if one wants to enjoy running, one should actually run the way they feel comfortable and what they are. You see, the main thing is one should have an objective, what you want to do at the end of the day or at the end of the time. Okay, you project yourself, I want to run at 10 kilometers in 1 hour. So I will work in the next 3 months or 6 months and see what I have to do to get there. So basing on your heart rate, there probably you have to work differently around it and see how you want to do it. So I probably feel that the heart rate still varies from person to person. As I said, most of the serious runners don't really depend on heart rate. They just run the way they feel comfortable running in it and how much they can do and the body can take. And usually they said, of course, you don't go more than 10% than what you've done previously, and so on, you build up. So building up is also important, and people running should have variation. So some days you can run fast 3 kilometers, jog 1 kilometers, fast 3 kilometers. You have variations in your training, you will improve your cardio yourself. And your aerobic level will go up. Of course, hill intervals helps a lot. You can find a long stretch of hill for 300 meters or 200 meters or maybe 1K of hills, and then you jog down or walk down and keep doing, and your cardio improves. When your lungs expand, your breathing gets easier and your aerobic level improves. Of course, anaerobic level is more on speed, so that's a bit different. So it depends on each individual.
Coach, you mentioned variations when you're running. So I think that's related to, say, a weekly running plan. And say, you know, I want to plan for my runs in a week. So I say I'm planning to run, say, 4 or 5 times a week. What sort of variations would you recommend, you know, a beginner or intermediate runner incorporate as part of his weekly routine?
Okay, if you're a beginner or intermediate runner, okay, you want to run, as I said, depend on what is your objective of running. What do you want to do? Do you want to do it for health reasons, or do you want to lose weight, or do you want to say, as I just said earlier on, if you want to run a 5 kilometers in 30 minutes, or maybe below 30 minutes, or you want to improve your 5 kilometers time, like someone earlier on said, the 2.4. So it depends on what you intend to do. I give you another example. Someone who wants to run a 10 kilometers in 1 hour, he said, my 5 kilometers is 30 minutes. So I said, you can't run a 10 kilometers in below 1 hour because your best is 30. So you cannot equate the other half for another 30 and make it 1 hour. So I said, you must probably look at 26 or 25 minutes or 27 minutes for your 5K. Then probably you can do below 1 hour. So it all depends on each individual, how far you have been running. Maybe you have been running regularly for 3 kilometers or 4 kilometers or 5 kilometers. Then it depends on what your objective or wanting to do in your run. That's it. So if I go out there, tomorrow I plan to run a 10 kilometers, I say probably I want to do in 1 hour and 10 minutes. I will just run easy. I just come back and that's it. So, but it all depends on each individual, what you intend to do. Then you can work on from there. There must be a goal somewhere. You can set your goals and that helps you motivate and that make you feel good about it. So if I tell myself I'm going to run a 3 kilometers in say 15 minutes or 20 minutes, then you start working on it. What I need to do to get to that timing that I'm looking at. Then probably you improve from 3, you go to 5, and probably you go to 7 or 10 or 8.
And then on this question, related to this, Coach, say I'm an intermediate runner and I want to plan my mileage for the week as well. Right? Is there a target mileage that I should be looking at, or does it depend also, as you said, what sort of distance I'm training for or I'm looking to hit? Will that impact the total kind of mileage that I should be planning for in a week?
Yes, it will affect. It depends. Okay, if I give you a marathon runner, if you say you want to do say below say 3 hours for a marathon, you probably got to clock about 90 kilometers to 100 kilometers a week. Okay. So if you're doing, if you intend to do faster, then you probably to increase your mileage. So if you want to do a half marathon in say in 2 hours, you probably need about 50 to 60 kilometers per week. So depending on the distances that you are doing and the mileage per week, it all depends, as I say, on the distance that you want to do and the time that you're looking at. And because all this incorporates a different level of training, maybe this week a bit more intense. If you depending, if you are a long distance runner, if you are more intense or intermediate runner, you probably this week will be hard, and next week will be lesser, and the following week will be more, and you can do more, then you do lesser. So the body gets the kind of a good feeling about it. So you can't be doing every week hard training. Say say you do 50 kilometers per week. Every week you can't be doing 50. You probably increase 1 week to 60, and then you drop it to 40. But on the average, it's still there. It's still about 50 kilometers. So you still get it there. So it all depends on how intense you want to do it. So it all again is weight and balance, or how you want to balance it. So it all the mileage is perpetually depending on the distance that you're doing. So if you're doing probably 5 kilometers, you don't need that much of mileage. You probably need about 30 kilometers or so per week. That kind of help with intense and interval training. You probably will get there.
Okay. So, Coach, I think this one question from me actually. I run about 5, maybe 6 times a week. And what I try to do on a weekly basis is I do intervals on one day. I do a tempo run on another day. And then obviously I have a long LSD, long slow distance run that I do. So these 3 are, I do it religiously almost every week, and all the other runs are just easy heart rate runs. What do you think of that? Do you think as a plan, that's good, comfortable?
That is actually comfortable, but do you have a rest day? When's your rest day?
I do. So Fridays, this is when I meet the boys for a few drinks in the evening. So Fridays is a rest day. But
Okay,
otherwise, yeah.
Okay, if Friday is a rest day, then Saturday, what do you do?
So Saturday, we do our weekly run. So that's usually a comfortable 5 or 6K run. And then Sunday is a long
When do
distance
you
run.
do your interval runs?
Okay, so my intervals is usually Wednesday,
Wednesday. Okay. The
Wednesday,
thing is,
and then
because your legs, actually, depending on what type of intervals you're doing, and the body has to be really rested, because that's where you pump in your interval, because your anaerobic, those who know, anaerobic is actually speed. So aerobic is more stamina or VO2 max, depending on how you look at it. So you need the anaerobic level. So if you want to do on more anaerobic level, you must be completely rested to do it. So if you're done in between training, your anaerobic level will not get there what you intend to do. Say if you want to do a 300 meters in, say, 45 seconds for every 15 seconds for every 100, so your legs may not carry you there. So that's another way of looking at it. So it's always good to rest, and after the rest day, usually I will, Monday is the rest day for my athletes, and Tuesday is specifically all interval runs, actually speed endurance. So they will come for speed endurance, and that specifically. So what you're doing religiously is still a routine that can carry you through, as I said, and you are used to it or accustomed to it. So that will kind of help you to do what you intend to do. So you're running a half marathon or marathon, so then you work towards it.
Okay, Coach. This we have a question from one of our runners as well. I mean, this one is quite unique because he's actually had a health condition. He underwent a stent sometime last year. So he's now on the road to recovery as such. So he had a question as to how someone like him, I mean, someone who's got with a heart condition, now undergone some procedure and is now on medication. How does someone like him ease back into training? Of course, he has consulted his doctors, and doctors have told him that he can slowly start increasing his mileage. But just wanted to hear from you whether you've experienced coaching anyone like this, or have any experiences and tips to share.
Yeah, I had someone who had a stand. He stays in Aukang. So he recently, of course, he started doing it only after 8 months after his surgery. So he had some things and procedures and all everything done. So after 8 months, so now what I started off with him is he walks for 3 kilometers easy, very comfortable 3 kilometers. I probably tell him the 3 kilometers you can walk in half an hour. So it's just to give him a start somewhere. So now he's almost 5 months already, and now he's 3 kilometers. He's able to walk in, say, 25 minutes or so. So he said he's looking okay. So I said, don't aggravate yourself, because the heart is something that we don't know internally. Anything can go right or wrong. So he's now comfortable. So I told him to take enough rest, drink plenty of water, and what he's doing now. Okay, now I'm making him walk up the slope. So he said he's become breathless. So I said, no, take it easy. So for a start, he only does 2 times. But now eventually he's doing it for 5 times, just walking up the slope. Not fast, but just up the slope, just walking up the slope, just to carry his body weight up and just to increase his heart rate a bit more. And he said he's okay now with 5. So I'm just staying put at 5. And then now I'm asking him to walk 5 kilometers instead of 3 kilometers. So he said he find it more easier to walk the 5 now. So I told him just walk 5 for the beginning. So he's almost now 5 months. So I just have to progressively look at him and talk to him. But he does only 3 times a week and not daily. No daily this thing, because I say you better rest and continue. So that kind of help him. So someone with this condition, he'll come back, but it takes time. Eventually, he has been a runner before, so that guy. I'm helping him, Siva. So he kind of like now getting used to it. And every time he calls me up and he said, today I feel good about it. And some days he doesn't feel good at all. So I don't know his medication. He says sometimes it's taking some effects on him. So I told him, take it easy. Doesn't matter. You walk even 3 kilometers or 2 kilometers. Just go through the routine process of it and just do it. So one has to know it's their own condition. Because I think we can't feel for others. We can only see and just tell. How it's executed is all depend on each individual.
Okay, Coach, thanks. Just we'll have 2 final questions before we wrap up. So I just wanted to be sure that we stick to the 1 hour. You've taken time and we appreciate it.
No problem.
Yeah.
Anytime. For running, yes, I do.
Yeah, well, one of the questions that often we chat amongst ourselves is breathing techniques. I mean, when we run, how should one actually breathe when they are running? I mean, I think all of us have a different style of breathing or technique of breathing. Is there something which you would recommend, a proper way of breathing when you are running?
It all depends on each individual. Some breathe through the nose and take out from the mouth. Some breathe through the mouth and take out through the nose and all that kind of thing. So there is no specific recommendation for this. It depends on how you feel comfortable. Say if you're walking, brisk walking, you're walking faster, how do you breathe? So in the running, you can apply the same effect of it and get used to it, because you can't go into something that is already part of your life. Breathing is something that we all have been doing. So it all depends on each individual. So especially when your cardio is good, when no matter how you breathe, you feel comfortable about it when you have the level of fitness. So it all depends on each individual on breathing. So I usually will not suggest any recommendation on how you breathe and all that kind of thing. So that's my answer.
Okay, thanks, Coach. And I think another question is, we've been talking about running and running X number of times in a week and so on. But are there conditioning exercises, other sort of training that you can do in a week that will help you as a runner as well? I mean, I think when I first started, I was just doing nothing but running. And then I realized that, it reached a point where I didn't feel like I was improving and I needed to do other sort of trainings to complement the running. What sort of other training do you think a runner should do?
Actually, you asked a valid question. My runners, they do a plyometric exercises. Plyometric means the core muscles has to work on. Of course, they will do, kicking your butt over 40 meters. There's a routine. Every 3 weeks, they will do these plyometric exercises to help them with the core muscle. That means you need your whole strength part of it, where they do butt kick, they do high knee lift, they do lunges. Okay, lunges is another example. Over 40 meters, I will ask them to count the number of strides they take on each leg. Lunges, how they do it. So you stretch your leg, and on one leg, you go on one side for 40 meters, and the other leg, you come back on the other side on 40 meters. So you count the number of strides. Eventually, when your lunges improve, the strides get lesser. So I give an average, say, one of the runner, he used to do 32 strides on one leg, and the other leg is only 31. So one leg stronger than the other. So now he's doing 28 for both the legs. So that has helped over the period of months of training. So the core plyometric exercises, like then they jump on one leg over 40 meters and they jump on the other leg 40 meters back. So and then they do sit-ups and they do push-ups. So the strength conditioning is also important. So some can go to the gym and do their own leg exercises and all that kind of thing. Of course, going to the gym doesn't mean you build body muscles. You have to build strength. Strength means you do fast repetition. So fast repetition, that means you don't have muscle or this thing, but you just have the strength. So because you need your arms to move your body and your legs, coordination. So this one will help you with it. So conditioning of plyometric is important. So as what you said, routinely you can't just be running, but of course there are other ingredients to it. Like anyone can cook. So what you put in your cooking is important. So running is just like that. So how you modify your running and what are the things that you need to do is also important. Of course, like as I said, hill runs are also important. Repetition running, interval running, so it's all cooperated together into one aspect of it if you really want to improve.
Okay, Coach, thank you so much. I mean, we've been chatting, an hour has gone by so quickly.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, an hour has gone by so quickly. I think you've fielded, a whole variety of questions covering different topics. So we're thankful for that. I think just one thing to wrap up. I think you mentioned earlier that you carry out coaching sessions. Weekly. I think some of the runners wanted to know more about your coaching sessions, where you do it. So if we have some runners who are keen to join you for training and so on, how do they go about reaching out to you? Is there a website or link that they can locate more details?
Okay. Previously, I used to have, you see, when I conducted the coaching, marathon coaching clinic for Stress Time, they come up with this Run with Ghana, RWG. So I am not using that anymore. I used to be on the Facebook and all that kind of thing. So my coaching is free. If you're free to come and join in, you're most welcome. Usually I train at Bishan, because now Kallang Practice Track is only exclusive for me and my athlete who are carded. So I don't go to Kallang anymore because there are people who are just normal runners who want to improve their running. So they come to Bishan. Usually I conduct my training in Bishan. Weekends, usually I go to lower PS where you have seen me before, where you had your group of running. So they run there because it's hill training and all that is conducted there. So it depends. You can contact me at, I can give you my phone number, 93384575. Feel free to contact me if you need some help or coaching. Of course, other days now we're running at this Bishan Park itself, where you all go and run regularly there. And I think there's, because I think, what was the group, they had the park runs. They used to have it at Bishan there. So I think 2 loops of it is 5K. So it depends where you want to train. But as I say, Monday to Friday, Monday is always a rest day. Tuesday is usually interval trainings. I do track. Wednesday usually is LSD runs. And then Thursday is kind of tempo runs. Friday is long runs. Saturday is plyometric or drills. So that's how it works on.
Okay, Coach. Thanks so much. I think I heard you say that your coaching sessions are free. I mean, it's great that you're doing this as a service to the community. So much appreciated. I'm sure many of our runners will be keen to reach out to you and get in touch for more details.
I can come and join you in one of your sessions where you have everybody there.
Yeah.
I can probably come and join you all for some runs and training at the same time and share with you all what I know.
Sure. In fact, that one of our runners just commented to say that would be fantastic if you can do that, and I'm sure we will follow up with you and try and do something over the next few months as well. I mean, hopefully things ease up and we resume the normal operations, so to speak, and when we can we get a wider group going. More than happy to let you know, and you can join us. But anyway, Coach, I think again I want to appreciate the fact that you've taken an hour off Sunday, and for all the runners that have tuned in, I should just point out that Coach actually had another engagement, but when I told him about this, he actually made plans to have that rescheduled so that he could spend his Sunday morning with us. So most grateful. Thank you, Coach, for your time.
Anytime. Take care. Have a nice Sunday and enjoy yourself. Take care.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.